Okay, now we are actually going to talk about the malignant tumors in infancy. We've already talked about the benign tumors previously. Now let's talk about the malignant tumors. The cancers of infancy or the malignant tumors of infancy and childhood differ not just biologically but also histopathologically from adult cancers. And the main differences are the incidence and the type of the tumor. The incidence would be different in a kid, the type of the tumor would be different in a kid rather than in an adult. And there's actually the close relationship between the teratogenesis and oncogenesis. While obviously in adults there's no teratogenesis, there's no relationship between teratogenesis and oncogenesis, but in infants and children there's actually a very close relationship between that abnormal development and the tumor induction. There's very strong familial or genetic aberrations that predispose infants to malignant tumors, and such condition is not uh, very much present in adults. Most of the malignant tumors, or you can say many of the malignant tumors, have spontaneous regression in infants and children, but that doesn't really happen in the malignant tumors of adulthood. And because they are not just spontaneously regress but also with the help of therapy, the childhood tumors also have an increased or improved survival rate. That is why when you think of the tumors or cancers of the children, you divert your attention or you devote your attention to minimize the adverse effects of the chemotherapy and radiation in the survivors. This thing becomes very important. Okay. Uh-huh. Now we're going to talk about some common malignant neoplasms of infancy and childhood. I'm made kind of stupid mnemonic for that, but you just have to consider any child whose name is starting with R. I've actually named that person Brian. You can name that person anyone, any name that starts with R, Roy, Ray, Raza, maybe any name. Anyway, so from 0 to 4 years, when the child is actually really just burping, sleeping, dreaming, So I made the mnemonic for the malignant tumors that arise from 0 to 4 years, and the mnemonic is let Rayan hop in the wonderful Candyland space. Okay, where L stands for leukemia, R stands for retinoblastoma, H stands for hepatoblastoma, W stands for Wilms tumor, and S stands for soft tissue sarcoma, and C stands for central nervous system tumors, and T stands for your teratomas, and the N in the N actually stands for neuroblastoma. Anyway, now obviously when the kid reaches the age 5 years of age, obviously the kids start going to school and they start attending lectures in the classroom. So yeah, the mnemonic for this is let Rayan study hard in classroom, and that's why he said ew. So the cancers which are present or which rise in the age limit of 5 to 9 years, they are leukemia, retinoblastoma, soft tissue sarcoma, hepatocellular carcinoma, N for neuroblastoma, C for central nervous system tumors, L for lymphoma, and U is for your Ewing sarcoma. Okay, I hope you guys actually would get this acronym. Anyway, now when Ryan actually when Ryan reached the age of 10 years, and so from 10 to 14 years, obviously he's reaching towards his teens, he is having hots for her. Okay, yeah. I know these are very, very stupid mnemonics, but it will just help you remembering them. Where X stands for hepatocellular carcinoma, O stands for osteogenic sarcoma, T stands for thyroid carcinoma, S stands for soft tissue sarcoma, and HER stands for Hodgkin disease. Okay? So just remember, from 0 to 4 years, the mnemonic is let Rayan hop in the wonderful candyland space. From 5 to 9 years, the mnemonic is let Rayan study hard in classroom. And so that's why he said EW, where EU stands for Ewing sarcoma. And from 10 to 4 years, the mnemonic is HOTS for her. So Rayan has HOTS for her. Okay. Anyway, now we're going to talk about the incidents. Now, the most frequent childhood cancers actually arise either in the hematopoietic system, in the nervous tissue, which includes the central and the sympathetic nervous system, the adrenal medulla, and the retina. They also arise in soft tissues, in bones, and kidneys. Now, this is in sharp contrast to adult cancer, because the adult cancers usually arise in spaces like skin, lung, breast, prostate, and colon. So the sites of cancer in children are way different from those in adults. And the neoplasms that exhibit sharp peaks in incidence in children younger than 10 age of years include, that we have already discussed, leukemia, neuroblastoma, Wilms tumor, hepatoblastoma, retinoblastoma, rhabdomyosarcoma, teratoma, Ewing sarcoma, and posterior fossa neoplasms. We've already discussed them in that chart where I made that stupid mnemonic. And also juvenile astrocytoma, medulloblastoma, and ependymoma. And these 9, 10, and 11 were not written in those charts, so just remember them, that these are also present. These are also the cancers which occur in infants below 10 years. And among all which you have just heard or learned, the leukemia is the most common childhood tumor, and this accounts for more deaths in children younger than age 15 years than all of the other tumors combined. Okay, this is like the most common tumor in childhood. Now, very important to note is that histologically many of the malignant non-hematopoietic, we have talked about the hematopoietic and the non-hematopoietic areas where the malignant tumors may develop in children. Now, histologically, those malignant non-hematopoietic pediatric neoplasms are unique. Why they are unique? Because they have primitive, which is embryonal, rather than pleomorphic and aplastic microscopic appearance. Now, what is pleomorphic and aplastic appearance? You would actually go and Google it, because this is what you're going to read in the neoplasm chapter. Anyway, just remember that, just for time being, remember that the non-hematopoietic malignant pediatric neoplasms are primitive embryonal, microscopically in appearance, rather than pleomorphic and aplastic microscopic appearance that you would see in adults. Now, this primitive embryonal appearance give rise to the characteristic microscopic appearance. That is, you would see the sheets of cell, you would see small round nuclei, and very important to notice that you would see the features of organogenesis, which is specific to the site of tumor origin. Okay. And because of the latter characteristic, which is the organogenesis features that you would find in the tumor, these tumors are designated by the suffix which is blastoma. Okay. Why they're called blastoma? Because these tumors actually arise from the precursor cells, and the precursor cells are actually called blasts. Okay. So because these precursor cells are called blasts, and because these non-hematopoietic malignant neoplasms have primitive embryonal microscopic appearance, that is why we call these tumors as blastoma. An example includes nephroblastoma, hematoblastoma, neuroblastoma. And because of this primitive histological appearance, these childhood tumors are collectively referred as small round blue cell tumors. Because why they call small round blue cell tumors? Because they stain characteristically blue with hematoxylin NeoCin stain, and this blue stain is usually due to the presence of large amount of nucleus material. On the left side, the picture you are seeing is that of Ewing sarcoma, while on the right side, the picture you are seeing is that of medulloblastoma. You can see the characteristic small round blue cells having large amount of, well, chromatin material nucleus. Now, the differential diagnosis of such small round blue cell tumors include neuroblastoma, Wilms tumor, lymphoma, rhabdomyosarcoma, Ewing sarcoma, medulloblastoma, retinoblastoma. All these have characteristic small round blue cells. Okay. Now that if you know the anatomic site or origin of the tumor, then obviously having known that, having seen those small blue round cells, you would say that these are your, well, if for example, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. So if you know the anatomic origin, the anatomical site of origin of these organisms, then obviously just by knowing and just by seeing those small brown root tumors, you would know exactly. You can make the exact diagnosis of which tumor that is. Otherwise, if it's still not possible to make the diagnosis on the histological grounds, even after knowing the anatomic origin, then you can go for chromosome analysis, immunoperoxidase stains, or electron microscopy, and all these things. So I think, yeah, that's it. I think, okay, so we're gonna talk about, I think now we're gonna talk about Wilms tumor. Hmm.